All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being on the GotDAM Podcast in Sintonia, as we would say in the Dominican Republic. With us in the goddamn room is none other than a 12-year fight veteran. My man knows his shit from top to bottom. He's got his own company. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. Please give a nice warm welcome to our boy Michael Sharp Sanders, my man.
I disconnected. I don't know what happened. Am I back in?
It's all good. Give me a second. I just did the studio check-in, so go ahead and just say hello to the people.
What's
We'll
going
go
on?
ahead.
What's going on? Thanks for having me, man. Thanks for having me. How y'all doing?
Hey man, it's been a minute since we talked, but even then, we've been training for a while. I
Yeah,
used to do
man.
personals with amazing coaching and great staffing, and the way that you break things down, it always makes more sense when I'm seeing it
Thank
with
you,
you.
man.
And
Thank you. It's all
there's a
about the
lot of coaches
basics,
out there like that.
fundamentals.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna start off with the first question. I'll let you do your piece. You hear like a small silence in between that point. That's perfectly fine. We'll go right back to it. I just want to give you enough time to talk. We'll take it nice and slow. Starting with this first question. In order to understand the present and catch a glimpse of the future, I do believe we got to see a little bit of the past. With that in mind, can you tell me what was Mike like as a child?
Man, my childhood was, confusing time. I think I'm a completely different person uh, than I was when I was a child. I grew up, so I was born in Camden, in New Jersey. I lived there until I was about 4. Uh, but with the riots that happened in '93, we had to move out of there pretty fast. I moved to Patterson. So long story short, I bounced from like one ghetto to another until about 12 years old. I was able to start schooling in a suburban area. Uh, and it was a lot less corny to be into comic books. It was a lot less corny to be into like, hero figures. So I was able to really become myself when I didn't have to worry about my image as much. So my geek and my nerd just kind of blossomed, I guess. And, you know, the rest is up and down, but I grew up in a really weird household. I'm the only black kid in an all white household, but we're all related by blood somehow. Yeah. That's a story for another day. But I grew up around a lot of diversity. I grew up around a lot of chaos, you could say. So I guess it really made me comfortable in the chaos, comfortable in the craziness of most situations. Like I find myself relatively calm when everybody's freaking out.
That's usually a really good thing to have. James Mad Dog Mattis. It's Veterans Day weekend, but General Mad Dog Mattis is tend to be known for that. There was a guy that said that he was in a firefight for 8 hours, and he said that this dude was as cool as a cucumber being shot at.
Cool as a
He's just a
cucumber. Happy
human.
Veterans Day to everybody too, by the way. Happy Veterans Day out there. We appreciate your service. Big time. I know what I do is tough, but I can never match up to anyone.
Thank you, man. I'm as a prior service guy myself. I feel really great about that as well. I had a lot of great guys still serving, and I got to serve with a lot of amazing people. But we're gonna
Oh
go back
yeah.
to Mike because we need sharp more than anything right now. How did you get started in martial arts, and what was your journey like? Like, talk about that for a little bit.
So it's funny because a lot of people think that my start in martial arts came from like growing up in gritty, tough settings. Uh, so you would think that naturally I would just be prone to fighting. And yeah, there was a lot of fighting when I was a child, but actually my interest in martial arts came from my really big imagination. As you can see back here, I got my superheroes that are always watching over me. It's so corny, but yeah, oh yeah, 100%. I'm seeing. But when I was a kid, I didn't want to be an astronaut. I didn't want to be a doctor. I didn't want to be a scientist. I wanted to be a hero. So I figured the best way to start becoming a hero was to train. So I got a black belt in Ishinru karate when I was like 13, which, just taught me a base, for kicks, how to keep my feet underneath my body. But then high school came around. I was pretty good at football, but wrestling was, man, up close and personal. I got pretty good at wrestling. My freshman year, I went undefeated in the regular season. I lost at regionals. And then my sophomore year, I really turned it up. I played sixth, seventh in state. I think that was my junior year. So that was the most accomplished I got in wrestling. But after high school, what do you do? As a wrestler, what do you do after high school? MMA was just starting to blow up. I remember that Forrest Griffin and Stephen Bonner fight that happened right after I finished high school. So MMA wasn't at the level that it is now, where you got all these young kids that are looking to train, uh, and they know martial arts they know mixed martial arts from when they're 8, 9, 10. as opposed to when I got started off, it was a guy putting one or two skill sets together and, picking up the rest along the way. So I really wanted to be a hero. I got wrestling. And then after high school, what do you do? So I started to box as you do. So I started to box, and it turned out, as my name implies, my hands are pretty sharp. So I wanted to box, and I did a couple of amateur boxing fights. And coach was like, you really should try an MMA fight. And the rest was history. I did a bunch of backyard bar brawls, those, fence fights in somebody's backyard. I did like 17, 18 of those, and then the passion grew. I wanted to actually start fighting real competitors. And then back in 2011 is when I had my first sanction. The rest is history.
That's actually great because I was going to ask you, how the hell did you get the nickname Sharp? I've known you so long, and even then, didn't know about that one myself. And then the other thing too, that background in karate, it leads me to another question that I had, and I had Coach Dan the same question. I said, Seafood Dan, do you see yourself ever competing in like a karate combat, which I think is a great thing that you got now.
That's a really good question. So I'll go there and then I'll tell you how I got the nickname Sharp. Very good question. So as I get older, I'm 36, which, it's not the oldest in the world. I still feel great. I feel stronger than I ever have. But MMA is a very taxing sport on the body. Up, down, ground, the wrestling, it takes its toll. And I got a bunch left in me. But I'm starting to think, I did a couple kickboxing fights, and those were really fun, really fun. So I'm thinking, and plus the karate combat, there's a ground element, but it's 5 seconds, I believe, and then got to stand up. And I really, I like that. And so, yeah. There's a possibility you might see me do something like a karate combat or like a modified rules kickboxing fight, something like that. So yeah, that'd be great. And then the nickname Sharp. So when I moved to the Sussex County in New Jersey, I'm from New Jersey. When I moved to Sussex County in New Jersey, I had to fight a lot because there wasn't a lot of black kids in the neighborhood. And my brother had to fight a lot too because he would, his brother was black. He'd have to stick up for me a whole lot. So I started to, fight a lot of the kids, and then I started to fight a lot of the kids' big brothers. And then it got to a point where I was in kids' dads' faces, and I was saying things like, "Go get your dad, go get your dad." And then, the the pops, the OGs that would be sitting on their porches would always just look out and say, "Oh, better watch out. That boy's sharp. That boy's sharp." And then kids in the neighborhood just started calling me sharp. They'd be like, well, they wouldn't call me sharp. They would say, oh, that boy's sharp. And then people just started calling me sharp from 13 till now. It started off as a joke. Oh, that boy's sharp. That boy, oh, watch out. Watch out. Oh, don't go talking to him. That boy's sharp. And it stuck. And I think I've thus far been able to live up to that name.
Yeah, I didn't know that it had that much context. I was like, man, I wonder how it happened. I wonder if he fought somebody, something happened, he elbowed someone, he David Lazu somebody with it. But that's actually pretty dope that you got that story. I'm shocked you using somebody's daddy's face. I mean, I can't say that I'm like too shocked because I grew up in Yonkers, and we knock on people's windows and talk to their father and be like, hey,
Oh,
yo,
yeah,
let me
100%.
fight your
Yeah.
son. So I thought about that too, and then I was like, man, that's a pretty awesome thing. And then yeah, the karate combat I think is one of those. It's super underrated still. It's still in like its opening phases, and it's just becoming bigger and bigger.
Oh,
Bosch
yeah.
Rutan, Lyoto Machida, GSP. These guys they're
GSP,
all
yeah,
going
GSP is
doorsteps.
on top of it. Boss isn't I think Biz Bing does a little bit of commentary for it, maybe. I know that Boss Rudin does heavy commentary for it. Yeah, it's really growing, and I love the skill set of some of these guys. Really showing that base, that karate base, so that you could see, because as of the last few years, there's this big bullshito um, exposure on the internet. If your martial arts isn't sound, you will get exposed. And people like to lump karate into that category, not really knowing that karate, it establishes a great base. It's really good muscle memory. Wonder Boy Thompson will tell you himself, you know. So I'm really loving the growth of the sport.
Absolutely, as a guy that started in Ryokushin karate, I believe his like said
Nah,
I can never say it, but yeah, I started in Ryokushin, and then I was like, all right, and I wanted to learn Kyokushin. That was the next one, and then Kempo. I did Kempo for
tempo.
like a month. I didn't do as well. I wanted to do better, but I'm definitely down to train a little more and get a little better at it. But I do see that karate has unfortunately been given this like really negative connotation, and it sucks because those are that's a great martial art. But speaking of martial arts, I did want to mention I have trained with you not just on the one-on-ones, but we've trained on the mats together. And brother, you're 36, you move like you're 22. It's a pain in the ass to wrestle with you. It's a pain in the ass to grapple with you. So from experience, I'm telling everybody at home, if Sharp grabs you, fucking move. Like do whatever you need to do to get away because it's a vice grip that the guy has on him. So I was watching some of your older fights, and I saw the ACC event. I saw the Wally Alves fight. Thing of Beauty, by the way, that was amazing because
Thank you,
Wally's
thank you.
really, really good. And to see the way you handled him, and I think that at that point it was a little bit of like the veteran versus the rookie, and he was kind of figuring out that there's a little bit of the
Yeah,
experience makes a bigger difference than we thought it did. You did the K series, which that match was fun. It looks like you and your opponent, you guys are always tagging each other, laughing and cracking up
yeah,
and having a
we
great
had a
time
great
about it.
time. We had a great time. Yeah, he was a really game opponent, man. That was really fun. Really, really, really fun. Because I was looking for that one specifically, not to cut you off. Um, for that one specifically, I was really looking forward to because I did a kickboxing fight prior to that, and I won against another really game opponent. But I whiffed a lot of big punches, and I was still throwing these big MMA bombs, and I didn't realize that you had to really center yourself and pick your shots. And I had to remember why they call me sharp because when I throw punches, they land. I don't, you know, no pointless punches. And I learned in my first kickboxing fight, man, I whiffed a lot of punches and got tired, really tired. So in that fight, I was really looking forward to showcasing my skill set, showcasing like the calm that I had drilled into my muscle memory. And it was a really game opponent that I got to do it against. So yeah, it was a really good one.
Yeah, man, that was fantastic, and it looked like a lot of fun. And then, like you said, that sharp, being sharp with those techniques, being sharp with those moves. It kind of reminds me of Israel Adesanya, where he says, I'm not like everybody else. I just don't shoot blindly. He goes, I shoot to kill. I aim and then I shoot. And I
Yeah.
thought that was kind of similar to that Izzy mentality because Izzy's really good at that. He says it himself. He's like, I'm player one. I'm not
Yeah.
an NPC. I'm not trying to just move stuff to move stuff. I'm trying to make sure that I get it
Oh yeah.
correct.
Oh yeah. Thank you. That's high
And
praise, man. Appreciate it.
right, man, and I've seen that that's something that you do really well. And then you mentioned being 36, and like I said, you move like a fucking cougar, dude. You just shoo, 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 and I'm like, crap, this is gonna be hard. This is gonna be a long day for me. You're in fantastic shape, and being 36, you definitely didn't have it the easy way because your generation kind of bleeds into my generation. We're not that far apart in age.
Yeah.
But y'all had it really fucking hard in the beginning of this MMA shit because at the time I think Jersey had legalized MMA, but I think it was only amateur MMA, right? For
So
a
yeah,
period
we
of
had
time.
amateur MMA, and we couldn't strike to the head on the ground.
Mm,
So we had to really, so so we really had to. Groundwork was everything. Actually, the motto of my first gym was on the back of our shirts. You'd see on the back of our shirts it said "this end up" because nowadays you could win off of your back. You could win off of your back. You could, but back then, if you were on your back, you were losing. You were losing. So so back then it was all about gaining that top pressure, top pressure, top pressure, everything top pressure in New Jersey because you couldn't strike to the head. So you had to keep them down. You had to move like Dagestani wrestlers, You had to just you move from one thing to another, S grip, gable grip, whatever you could do, keep them.
absolutely. And you like I said, you're a 12-year fight veteran. How in the hell have you managed to do this for 12 years? Like I'm 28, I turned 29 in March, and I'm like, man, I'm already counting it down. I'm like, I got, 1 year to do the amateurs and then from 30 to 40, that's it. Like I don't think I'll go past that point. But how the hell have you maintained this shape? And I've watched the fights from back in 2012, 2013, some of those videos of you and the gloves with the shin guards and knocking dudes out and just having a great time. But like, how the hell have you been able to do this? Like, what's the secret to the longevity?
So there really is no secret. It happened by accident, really, because I took a decent amount of time off between fights. And I think I would actually advise a lot of these guys that, the game plan is get as many fights in, fight a lot, fight a lot, fight a lot, fight a lot, reach the top that way. Whereas I think that the real key would be to space your fights out. Space your fights out. Don't train through injury too much. You know, start. You know, I started my first sanctioned fight. I was 23. Um, I started off. I had 7 fights in 1 year in 2011. Yeah, 7 fights 1 year, 2011. I fought some pretty high level guys that year too. And then I didn't fight for 2 years. I trained, but I didn't fight. You know, and then from that point on, all of my fights were relatively high profile, title belt fights. You know, big venues, big things. Make yourself a commodity. Fight less. Fight good. Fight less. Make yourself a commodity. You know, but train hard in the interim because people people see the work in your fights and they don't realize how much better it looks in the gym. You know, train with some good training partners. Don't train through injuries too much. You know, space your fights out because you know I want a long lasting legacy that you know, and I was really focused on being able to keep fighting to the point where my kids could potentially come to a venue and watch me fight. Whereas being 6'7" and you don't want them in that crazy crowd. My daughter is 10. You know, I'd like for her to come see a couple in person. You know, so longevity, spacing your fights out. You know, don't train through injuries too much. Yeah, I sound like a broken record, but you know what I mean.
No, but that means you actually believe what the fuck you're saying. Some people will only say it and they're like, and kind of not do that. They'll deviate from that path. And it's like you said because I was watching the countdown to UFC 295. Tom Aspinall was saying that he ran out of opponents, and his father was saying that that was a blessing in disguise because they
Yeah,
gave him 2 years off,
yeah,
and it kind of gave him the space to kind of breathe. Then he went to Cage Warriors, and then again, the threat of like having too much time off. He was like, no, a year's fine, but like now we're at a point where there's nobody else for me to fight. Then he went to the UFC, which turned out to be a great move. Then he
yeah,
took the year off after the injury, the Curtis Blade fight. He threw that leg kick and broke his own shit. Oof.
mm,
It always hurts to watch a guy like it's something different when you get knocked out because I guess like from my experience in sparring, not competing. But I've been knocked out in sparring and it's
mm,
fucking terrible, but it's not the worst thing. I watched it back and I've laughed a couple times.
yeah,
Shit, that was good. That was a good shot. But when you see a guy break something, that shit is just horrible. I don't
yeah.
know.
That's a huge fear of mine in competing. You know, getting a big break or something. You know, I see these videos and I ask people to stop sending me these things, but like people will go for like a big body lock takedown and they'll keep their leg planted, and next thing you know, their leg is sideways. And I think about stuff like that, and I'm like, oh, because there's no career after that. No career, none. I took the whole summer off because I had a couple. I had bursitis in my elbow, and then I got some chipped bones going on. So I took a whole summer off just to make sure that I'd be tip top shape because big things coming. Big things coming from you, boy.
Well, I before we get into the big things, you were talking about your daughter, which I see all the time. You two are like partners in crime. It's the most beautiful thing to see. Like as a father, I'm jealous because I can't, my daughter's in Florida. But like it's wonderful to see it. It's so amazing. And you guys always look like you're having a great time. When you have that in your life, I've seen a lot of fighters, Darren Till, Ian Gary, a lot of those guys talk about, like those young guys talk about it now how they're just having their kids and how it changes their frame. Rafael Desanya said the same thing.
Yeah,
And who else was it? There was another fighter recently that said he had a kid, and I think it was Charles DuBronx Oliveira. He said
yeah.
after he had his daughter,
You know who
all
else?
bets were off.
You know,
Hmm?
Donald Cerrone. You remember his first couple fights after having his kid?
Hmm.
Savage, savage.
Yeah.
So
After he
yeah.
named his son Daxon Danger, I was like, oh man, this kid's gonna be
Woo.
bad. But
Yeah. So I
can
see
you
where
talk
you're.
about that mind
Yeah.
shift?
Oh man. So actually, my biggest gap in the sport was about 3.5, 4 years, right? Where I honestly thought that I wasn't going to fight anymore. I was doing a little coaching. I was training. I honestly didn't because I didn't really have like a passion for it really anymore. I lost this really close fight by a split decision, and it kind of just like snapped my mental a little bit because I was like, ah, man, I really thought I won that, but not only that, that was good work I just did. Anyway, I took a pretty long break, and then I had some life issues with my son and his mother. Uh, so I was ripping and running for a few years, and then my daughter was born. And as you mentioned, you see, my daughter and I were like partners in crime. As soon as my daughter was born, something just changed. I looked down at her and I was like, man, when she gets older, when she's my age, I want her to talk about me like I wish I could talk about a parent, you know? So I just started working on setting the example on that day. I didn't know I was gonna fight again. Yeah, I linked up with Adam. You know Adam, Coach Baum. What up? I linked up with Adam, and as soon as I met him, he was like, "Oh, dude, you're a fighter. What are you doing?" Because he saw it. There's this thing in the back of your eyes, and there's this longing. Henry Hoof last night. We had a seminar with Henry Hoof last night. Henry Hoof said, "Fighting chooses you. You don't choose fighting. Fighting chooses you." So my daughter was born. I took a lot of time off from working to take care of her, and with all that time off, I was able to train again. And my first fight back in the mix was a title fight on Triton, which is now Flex. It was a title fight for them, and I lost that one, very close decision, but it started something, and it's just been go 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 ever since. So yeah, I just want her to look at me and be proud. She's the first person I call after a fight. She's the only person I confide in about how my emotions are going leading into a fight. Like I was kind of nervous leading into this Wallace fight because he had a lot to prove going into that one. He was coming off, I think, 2 losses. He's a champion now, by the way. He just won a championship belt. Um, he, I was nervous going into that fight. I wasn't very confident in my jujitsu going into that because I knew he knew that I was a savage here, very technical technician. I'm not like a crazy, you know. I'll pick the one that's gonna put you out, and he knew it because he fought off the back foot a lot. I was nervous going into that fight, and I confided in my daughter. I told her, "Look, I'm nervous, and I know I seem all put together and composed, but I'm nervous." And she would just hug me. She would say stuff like, it's funny because she's a child, so the things that she says aren't something I would say to like you, but like it means a lot. So she said, "It's okay, because even if you lose, I'm gonna love you anyway." And you know, just gave me. That's why if you watch the rollback to my last few fights, I just got this big old bright smile on my face at the weigh-ins, walking out to the fight. I'm just so excited. Win, lose, or draw. It's not about becoming UFC champion anymore. It's not about. It's not about fighting Conor McGregor for $3 million or four, whatever, best offer. It's about making her proud and showing her what a sportsman is like, showing her what it's like to go out there and show your craft and be nervous and be scared because you're about to fight somebody. You're gonna bleed. You're gonna hurt, right? To go out there and do that performance while everybody's watching, stay composed, keep that championship mind frame, and you know, stand tall. Be proud of all the hard work you put in because she's acting now. She just did Frozen a couple months ago. She's doing Sound of Music next month. Yeah. So I'm showing her how to be a classy, respectful performer, as a sportsman or woman. You know what I mean?
I know what you meant. I
Or
get it.
or or they or
Right. But aside from being a class act, bravo to your daughter. That was wonderful. That's great.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. You said something that I actually was talking to my wife about the other night, and I was like, I'm so nervous because I waited so long to start my career now as a fighter, and I'm terrified of it. I'm like, man, what if I go out there and like I'm not who I think I am? And I think that that's something that we've all at one point you've
Oh
had to
yeah.
look in the mirror
Hmm.
and go, holy shit, what if I'm not who I think I am? Like, what does that mean to me in the future? But then what your daughter said was exactly it. That's the precious moment. I'm going to love you regardless. And that kind of like, it takes off that chip off your shoulder. And then you're like, you know what? Fuck this shit. I'm going to have a good time. I'm
Oh
here
yeah,
for
just
this.
go out there and have a good time. Yeah. Oh yeah. and you hit like a mule, bro. You're gonna do just fine.
Yeah, thank you, man. When we did miss the first time, you're like, no, slow down, slow down. And I was like, I'm sorry, did I do something wrong? And you were like, no,
Well,
dude,
because we
you
all
hit it.
want to impress our coach. We all want to impress our coach. Henry Hoofta was there last night, and I'm sharp, and yet, there was a couple times where I'm like, because coach is watching. Coach is watching, and you want to do, and that's what the performance is. That's what the fight is. The fight is doing your training with all of these people watching and all of these lights and with intent.
I think I had a coach back in Texas used to tell me fighting in the amateurs is like glorified sparring. And then fighting in the professional level is also glorified sparring, but you can actually hurt the other guy.
Oh yeah. Well, you could
So when
actually
these
you could throw some
exactly,
things, yeah. But yeah, it really is. And that's how I started to treat it in my later career. That's why you could see the focus, the shift from my earlier career where I was just, wild, knock 'em out, to my later career where, very calm, very composed, because I'm treating it like a sparring session with the rookie that's trying to take my head off.
I think everyone that gets in there knows that that's what the other guy's there to do. And I feel like maybe that's why after some, you have great amount of experience. You're one of the smarter guys that I know. I've watched your fight IQ go like this. Every time we train together, you'll be like, "Oh, you know something? Instead of putting your foot there, put your foot there because that's gonna help you with not off balancing when you throw that punch." And I was like, "Wait, what?" And so I try it, and I'm like, "Oh, that technique works beautifully." And you're like, "I know, trial and error, right? Like it works." But then the other thing that I was also gonna think about was like, you have sharp athletic fit. Like my last, my apologies.
Sharp fit
I see
athletic.
you exactly, man. You have your shit, and your shit is dope. And I see your clients, and all your clients are getting in better and better and better shape. I've been watching over like 4 months of
That's
stories, and
them.
I'm like,
That's their work. That's them. They do it.
absolutely. But you know what? A good coach makes a big difference because when I tried to lose weight the first time, I did it by myself. I was like, well, I used to do this all the time. I put on a sauna suit, I'll put on some Albaline to sweat, and I'll go
Yeah,
running
yeah.
every day for an hour. Didn't have the same effect as it does when I started training with you. When I got a strength and conditioning coach for a while, I was fucking 250. I'm down to like 210 now, which I'm happy
That's
about. I
what I'm
need to get
talking
slower.
about, baby.
Thank you, brother. Well, with your business, your fight career, and everything that you've done so far, when it's all said and done, and I've asked Dan the same question, what do you want to be your legacy?
So I made a post after my last fight. It might not have meant much to everybody else, but it meant a lot to me. In my stories, it went away. Uh, I said, because we're legends, we train the legends, but I most of my life I've been about legacy. Those that came before me didn't pass down a legacy to be proud of, right? So I want my line. It's got to start at me, and I got to establish this legacy, an example for generations to come. Is what I'm hoping for. Might sound corny to some, but I want my grandkids to look up and be like, if you're looking for motivation to go harder, look at grandpa. You know what I mean? So I said legends overcome adversity. So it none of this has been easy. I have to work. I feel like I have to work 3 times harder than the average dude. I mean, there's guys that get out of their car, they're 24. They get out of their car, they smell like weed. They get out of their car, they just got done sitting on their couch all day like this. They get up, they go to the gym, and they kick ass, obviously, because what have you done all day? I had to do 3 workout sessions, run 4 miles just to stay, you know, in the same level as some of these guys. And what we didn't get into here today, and I'll get into one day, is I'm very troubled past. I get off of the cliff notes. Like, I didn't come from any kind of stability in my family. My family story is crazy, and based off of everything that I come from, I was destined for nothing. So you can change your destiny. Pretty much what I'm saying is you could be who you want to be. You can be what you want to be. If you can see it inside your mind, you can achieve it. You can get there. I've been in the depths. I've been in random kitchens at 8 a.m. How the hell did I get here? I've been partying, wasting life, wasting time. But if I can drag myself out of the depths of my mind and out of the depths of this world and overcome all the adversity and overcome the nothing that I was destined for, then anybody can. There's not a suitable excuse that I can give myself to stop going. So the people that come after me, I want them to look and really get the full picture of the story and say, nothing can stop me. Nothing can stop me. Absolutely nothing. And I want to say that I've got years left. I'm only 36, and that's the way I want to think about it.
That's fucking dope, brother. That's true. That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, it sounds like he wants to become the new Root. That now this brings out this whole branch of
Thank you. Yeah.
right, and that's not for anybody that thinks that that's fucking something stupid. You just never been in that position. I grew up in similar ways than you in that way too. If you look at my father's story, you look at my story, you look at all the generations prior to the military part of it is great, but then like there's all that other dark shit that kind of followed with it, and
Well, maybe
nothing goes according to
military
plan.
is a result of, you know.
Yeah, it kind of is. My grandfather was special forces in the Dominican Republic, and when he came here, it didn't mean much. So him and his wife, they worked 3 jobs. They had a side
Mm.
hustle to pay their bills. They raised, 9 kids. It's
Yeah.
a different time, but
Yeah.
it's hard to do it. And then you gotta
That's
take
incredible.
that route and move into something else. And it's difficult, but you know what? It's worth it. Ultimately, my parents had me here in the States. I'm very grateful to be able to do that. And like to hear you say, like, I want to be that next one that like my grandkids could look back and go, look, there's proof. We did that shit. We did
Oh
it
yeah.
once. We can do it again.
Oh yeah. And I wish you the best of luck in your journey, man.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that, man. And speaking of legacy, which I think you're fucking dope and you're on the right track, like you said, you're only 36, and a lot of people will forget that 36 is very young. Still a lot to do. With that in mind, I put you to the test today. It's gonna be a lightning round. I'm gonna give you
Okay.
7 questions.
There we go.
Let's do it. I'm gonna get the timer out. We're gonna fucking do this. The time to beat is. Let me double check because I think Teddy actually has the best time currently.
Oh, Teddy.
32 seconds. Yeah,
Oh,
man.
Teddy's
Teddy
got a
shit.
fight coming up. I think
32
today.
seconds, 32.64 seconds. My apologies. Time to
Okay.
beat.
All right.
Let
Let's
me
do
get
it.
this timer up. All right, brother. Okay. Stopwatch. All right. I'm going to give you the first question, then we start the timer. Ready?
Got it.
All right. MMA or BJJ?
MMA.
UFC or Bellator?
Bellator.
Lightweight or welterweight?
Lightweight.
Another K Series event or another Flex Series fight?
Flex. No, no offense to K
Stand
Series.
and, no, you got it. Stand and bang or ground and pound?
Ground and pound.
Okay. Arm bars or rear naked chokes?
Rear naked chokes.
Wow. My man is on the leaderboard 28 seconds.
Boom! Take that, Teddy. I mean, good luck tonight,
That's
Teddy.
fucking That's definitely what we wanted, and you know what? I'm happy with it. Got a new leaderboard. It's you in first, Teddy in second, Coach Dan in third. I wonder where Ben's gonna place. Dan's time is like 3 minutes and change because he
Oh,
really thought out his answers. He's very thoughtful. So now we have that there, and then I wanted to ask you another question, not on the lightning round, but just a basic one that I think we all need to ask. What's a better walkout song, "Barbie Girl" by Aqua or "Shake It Off" by Taylor Swift? Now we get to the
shake it
real
off.
questions.
Shake it off.
Like, really?
Yeah, you know why? Because
Why?
Barbie Girl is fun. It's fun. It'll lighten the mood for the crowd walking out. It'll cut some of the tension, right? But Shake It Off has, you could imply it. You could apply it to the situation, because when the fight before your fight comes on or goes out, you're like, damn it, I'm next. I'm fucking next. And now you're like, you're going, you're going, you're going. And then usually I'll play like a heavy metal song to like, so that you could adrenaline dump, right? But Shake It Off could really just put a smile on your face and say, just like, shake it off. So I think Shake It Off wins down.
All right, man. I respect the answer. You really came with it, and I respect that one. You are the man with the time to beat moving forward. Um, Before we let you go, if anybody that's watching in the world wants to reach you, where can they reach you? And you said the big things were coming, so what's next for Sharp?
So one of two things is going to happen for Sharp, right? Well, pending changes based on what my coaches think. But so we're either going to fight for a big amateur strap, which doesn't really mean much. It'll just be another prep. But if a better off, because we've been looking for a fight for 6, 7 months now, but nothing really makes sense for where I'm trying to go for my career. I could have fought and lost to this guy or that guy. I could have fought and won to this guy or that guy. Easy fights, hard fights, hard fights. But not everything makes sense. So, and as a coach, I want to increase my credentials. So we're thinking pro by June. So be on the lookout. Watch my training camp. Watch me go. You're gonna see. It's gonna be electric. We'll just say that.
That I know. That I know for sure. So for anyone that wants to follow Sharp, I'm gonna put it down in the description. You're gonna see Sharp's Instagram handle. Go ahead and follow him there. Follow him at his business page as well. I'm gonna add that.
I need
Sharp,
to do
thank
more
you
work
so
on
much,
my
brother.
business page. It's been rough, because I do my main page most, but so I'll start to put more on my business page, as time goes on.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much for your time, brother. And for everyone at home, thank you for your curiosity. You know how much that means to me. Sharp, again, thank you for being vulnerable with us today. I greatly appreciate it, brother.
100%.
And I look forward to talking to you soon, brother. Everybody take care, stay safe, and God bless. Oh.
Good to go.
All right, Sharp. We good. Let me get
Hey,
a
man, you're the man.
got it, brother. Thank you, man. I'll see
Thanks,
you then.
dude. Thanks a lot, man. I'm gonna run off to this pumpkin blaze. You be safe. Thanks a lot, bro. You'll send me the
You too,
link
brother.
where I can watch it and everything.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Once I have it up, I gotta edit it still. I gotta add a few things because we got the Sanibel contract. We got a sponsorship with these guys now,
Hell
finally.
yeah.
So we gotta get that done first. I gotta edit it. My brother has to go through the final edits, or he's gonna do this.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
We'll
yeah,
take it from
man.
there.
You're the man.
All
Thanks,
right.
bro.
Thank you, brother. Take care.
Cheers, bro.
Cheers.